Just wanted to point out the information we provide today is of a general advice. If you do want some more information, please seek some professional advice.
Well, welcome to the latest episode of Retirement Living Your Way podcast, where we have real conversations with Troy Theobald and the team from RFS. My name's Greg Black. It's certainly a pleasure to be here with you today. And Troy, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Greg.
Hey, we've got a very, very interesting topic that we want to talk about today.
I can't wait to ask some questions today.
Oh, actually, I thought you would. It's going to be an interesting conversation because obviously at RFS Advice we're always talking about retirement planning and helping people live their best lives. And we thought as part of that, let's have a look at the journey to retirement. And when we had a look at our business and a lot of our clients, we thought, well, who better to ask than the old CEO of RFS Advice, Paul Forbes. So, Paul, welcome to the studio.
Oh, thank you, Greg. And when you say old CEO, I'd prefer previous CEO.
Yeah, that's probably fair, but, I didn't want to comment on your age or anything like that. But, now, look, it is, we really do appreciate you coming along today. And I guess we've got lots of questions. It's probably...
We do. Here's one we prepared earlier. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from our point of view, it's really... I think having the conversation is really helping our listeners understand, I guess, moving from thinking about retirement to actually going through that transition phase. And I must say, this is sort of part one of a two-part series because we thought if we can get you today to talk about that transition into retirement and what went through your mind and Nina's and the like, then we can have a good conversation on that. And I think the second part will be around how's it been for you. So we'll keep our listeners in suspense for the second part. Yeah. But look, obviously, as I joked, the old CEO, but really, you were the CEO of RFS Advice. You were instrumental in actually building the business to what it is today. Prior to that, you've had a very successful career in financial services at very high levels across all parts of the industry. The first question I've got for you is, at what point did you realise that you wanted to start thinking about retirement? Was there a point in time, or was there a trigger, or has it always been something you'd thought about at a certain age? I want to start pulling up stumps.
Well, I think if you look at it, what we actually said at RFS for many years was we had a catch line which we wanted to make work optional. And so from my point of view, I'd always said I wanted to be ready to retire when I hit 60 because that was actually when my youngest was going to be 21. Mm-hmm. And I assumed by then he would be through university if he was going to do a university degree.
Assumption's right.
He has actually just finished, so that's okay. But it was more along those lines. And I think that's for a lot of people, it's actually not necessarily saying here's a drop-dead date, mm-hmm. but knowing this is what you actually need, and then you can make a decision based on what your life looks like then. Mm-hmm. So I'd always looked around 60. I think it was 61 when I actually retired. But I still think, we sort of had that view of understanding what your number was. That was an old theory we had, and sort of said, okay, how much capital do you need to generate so much income? I had done that. I'd sort of got to where I wanted to be. And I do think that there's a lot more to life probably than working. Yes. Now, I enjoyed working. I loved working in the RFS business. I'd been the CEO there for, 13 years, I think. Yeah. And I do think you have a life as a CEO. You're not necessarily, you bring a certain skill set. You grow with the business, you adapt. But at the time when I was leaving RFS, I actually thought it was good to have it for RFS to have another refresh, bring in someone mm-hmm. with a new set of skills, maybe a different mm-hmm. idea on how it was going to go, and I think that would have been good for the business. Mm-hmm. Personally, I didn't know if it was going to be done.
Right.
But I thought definitely time for me to actually go and explore a few other options.
So was it the other options also that was quite attractive? You're getting to that point where financially, you've been fortunate, you've been in the right industry, you're advising client, like all of that, you're able to sort of live everything that we've actually been teaching clients and working with clients. Did you sort of get to a point where you thought the other parts of life are just getting a bit more exciting, and now that you can do it?
I think so. I was lucky enough when I was about 27 to disappear for a year and wander around Europe. Yes. So I had learnt that I could actually not work for a year. Yes. And I think that was even that when I took off that period of time, after about 6 weeks, you got used to the fact you weren't working, but that initial phase was actually hard. Mm-hmm. With this one, it was more I knew I could stop for a while, but I didn't know if I'd get to the stage where I went, yeah, that's great, but now I actually now need to find something else to challenge me beyond it. So I don't think I've got there yet. But
Well, how long's it been? 18 months?
18 months, 18 months now, yeah. And I have a wife who's very good at organising holidays. So you have that all in front of you. And I do look back on that and go, okay, I thought about doing a few things. I was actually helping out a couple of advisors up the Sunshine Coast just with some business coaching. Yes. But even that, having any sort of time commitment starts to eat into, or it means something's in front of you all the time, and that might change your plans. And I sort of went, you know what, it's easier just to stop. Just make our plans around holidays, work out what we want to do, and to give you some idea, Nina is already pretty organised till the first half of 2028.
Yeah,
that does not surprise me. But just on that, so obviously both of you have been very successful in your careers. So did you both sort of work out that you wanted to both stop at that point in time, or did it just? How did that sort of play out? Pretty much the thought process.
Pretty much, Nina had already retired.
Right.
Yeah. So, and she was sort of waiting for me to. She wasn't really putting a lot of pressure on me to stop, but she was. She was very keen to go and try a few things. I said no. We talked about spending time in Europe for a period of time. We went over there and probably ended up, I think we did a 6 to 8 week trip, and then I worked out I really wouldn't like to spend 6 months there.
Yes.
But it was still, you learn a little bit about that. The south of France is fantastic. Yes, it's good.
Yes.
But, I don't speak any French.
No.
Or what I do is not recognisable as French.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was going to be difficult. Yeah.
But also with the kids.
Yeah.
It's good in theory, isn't it? But then being away for extended periods and so.
It is. I mean, the beauty of that is none of my kids have kids themselves. Yes. And I always said I needed to get Nina offshore before they do have kids, because that may dramatically change our future plans.
Yes.
But at this stage, it's been pretty good, and they can join us or whatever else. So
that one retiring early or semi-retired early, that's probably what we see a lot of in couples, and I think that's probably where a lot of interest from listeners will be in that phase, because I had a couple last week, and two couples in that were exactly in that dynamic, and one we went up there and spoke to only a couple of days ago, and she was very clear, well, next year in December, so that's, I'm not retiring till December next year. I've said to him, that's pretty clear, she's given you a date there. And he's like, well, we could go and do more things of us earlier. So it's interesting when you've got that dynamic. And then another couple, the opposite, where she's dying to retire down, moved down from Brisbane to their Gold Coast home, they bought it, she's ready to go, and he's just got a little itch at work that hasn't quite. And that tends to be our discussion and meeting is, I'm like, we'll get to the finances. Where's the itch at? How are we going with that? Because to your point and where Greg was sort of probing, I tell people it's those little drums get louder.
Yeah.
And it's an internal drum. And for everyone, it's a different journey. Like Paul sat with me with clients and extract with questions when you've been doing long enough of, okay, maybe they have had enough rah-rah. It's different when you're the observer. And Paul probably sat through, we had one of our own advisors in Tina who couldn't turn up to her own going away party.
Yeah, wow.
Because the thought of it being her retirement, her going away, she just rang and said, I can't do it. Yeah. And that was really interesting. And, this wasn't a surprise. We were all going out to dinner.
No, it was still a nice dinner. Just didn't have the guest.
The guest of honour just didn't turn up.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah. No, it's true. I think everyone's... Interestingly enough, though, I do understand the pressure for the second partner to retire. And an example, another couple of clients who I'd introduced to the business, Jeff and Linda. Jeff had retired, and Linda was still working.
Yeah,
and then he was telling me that he thought the days were very long.
Yes.
Whereas I was saying,
God,
days seem pretty busy. But I think it is actually easier when you've got your partner with you, or so you're doing something together, or there's always, if they're doing that, you're probably going to do this. So you've got someone to share experiences with, as opposed to, doing the yard, maybe cooking dinner, but really you're still sort of waiting for your spouse to come home. So I do understand the other side of it as well.
Yeah. And then from the financial perspective, how far out did you really start to get more serious and probably more sort of focused on how it was actually really going to look, what income levels you might need, asset positions, things like that? Was it sort of, I know Troy often, we're always talking that sort of 5 to 7 years out from that. Is that something that you sort of, and Troy, jump in here if you've got...
I think it's something you generally work towards, as opposed to getting out of bed one day and going... Some people do. They'll come in the door and go, I need to sort my retirement today.
Yes.
I don't know why, and I always ask, why today, why never? Don't know. There's something, they just got that urge. Others, it's broadly, to Paul's point, working towards... I know the number I've got to get to. I know the time frame.
Yes.
And it's getting through that and past that. Once you're past it, I think that's the hardest point, because there is no trigger.
That's right. It's optional now.
There's nothing that says I get out of bed last Thursday and I'm going to retire, because you retire once generally when you go retire. We have some retire very quickly. We had one retire on a Friday, went back to work on a Monday. That was the shortest retirement in history. I caught up with him yesterday in Brisbane because an opportunity popped up. He said, no, I'm done, and he was sick of lots of things. Mm-hmm. And then when he told the business, they went, oh, but you really love this project. Do you want to just go do that? And he went, hell yeah. So that was, I wasn't done with work, obviously. I was done with all of the drudgery. But if it was the bits I wanted to do, totally different question.
Yeah. I suppose I look at it as far as how long out. Because we're in the industry, we're probably more aware of these things. But even then... I think you've got to pay attention and track what's happening in your own personal wealth, because especially in the last couple of years, and what people forget, and this is probably the problem we're having at the moment with this intergenerational inequity, is frankly, after 42 years of work, yes, you're going to be in a pretty good financial position. I'm sorry, after 5, you're not. So, and the way compounding returns work is really, your revenue. If you think about it, where you are when you're 50, your wealth is probably going to double by the time you're 60, and that's even if you just get an average of 7.2% return. The rule of 72. You can explain that one. But that's how it works. So money doubles probably every 10 years, even if you just get a 7.2% return. So at 40, it's this way. So if you've got, and we'll just use $500,000, and you're $1 million, but suddenly it's $2 million, because $1 million. So you do. I think it's important for people to understand where they want to try and get to, and to keep an eye on it. But I think also a really big part is making sure you have your partner go along for that journey.
Yes.
Because they have to be confident as well, and they need to be aware of where we are financially and where we want to get to, and what that then means for the lifestyle we can have in retirement. There is a funny story about that when we brought Nina in for the post-retirement review.
I think she was ready to retire that day, wasn't she? Really? I said, well, here's the numbers, and we work on a rule of maths. So I tell for people, if they're drawing that 6%, we're earning more than that. You're not going to outlive your capital. How long it lasts? The idea is make it last infinitely, and you don't have a problem, and the rest is up to you what you want to spend it on. And I think that's the eye-opening when you see that. So, we're okay, and we've got buffers, and we've got safeguards, and we've got all of this. Oh, okay, that's.
And sorry, Paul. And just on that, did you bring any decisions forward while you were working? Because obviously you've got an expense profile at different stages of life. Is there anything that you actually thought, let's set ourselves up now with, whether it's a luxury item or how did those sorts of decisions?
I probably wasn't as good as we should have been. I mean, and I know, and it's probably. I'd heard Troy say this to clients pretty regularly, was make your large financial changes before you retire, because it's easier to do when you've still got income coming in the door. But we're reasonably okay. But we've sort of we've changed some larger assets like houses and cars. The house we sort of did just when I was retiring. And that was very much a changing from the old family home into something newer. It's still reasonably large in that we've got enough room for kids to come home and that sort of stuff, but much easier to close up and leave and travel.
It's going to suit that lifestyle moving forward.
The old place, there was always something to do, whether it was hedges or lawns or pool or something. This I can pretty much leave, probably for 3 or 4 months, and it wouldn't really be too much of a problem.
Well, Troy's not bad at mowing lawns as well, I hear.
Yeah,
And I don't think he's that far. So
Actually, he's quite passionate about grass. But
I've got extra ones at the moment. So, hi, Mum. Love your lawn.
To that point, I do think actually, if you've got some larger financial purchases, it's probably easier to do it. But also, the thing I would say, and we've said this to a few people, is people seem to want to wait till they retire before they start ticking off some of those boxes. And there's no reason to do that. I mean, if you've got the time, I mean, a lot of people have long service leave. There's a whole range of things. Obviously, in small business, not as easy, but there's certainly small business you can control your own time a bit. So yes, saying, okay, we've always wanted to do this, do it. Don't wait till you retire. That may extend your working life, which actually can be a good thing, but it also it gives you a taste of what it can be. And if you say, really, that would have been much better if we could have spent 6 or 8 weeks here versus 3, then that probably gets you in the mindset for it as well. That helps.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so if somebody is sort of considering retiring and they're 2, 3, 4 years out, what practical advice would you give them to get the most out of that, moving into getting ready?
I think I've made a few notes on this one. I think
I think the key from mine is that it's giving them that broad brush to work towards. And if they can come 5 years out, and if you're a bit short, it's a way better conversation than someone's 1 year out or 2 years out.
Yes.
Or to Paul's point, they might actually already be there.
Yeah.
And then it's building in extra buffers. It's what other toys do they want? Do they want the nice new Land Cruiser? Well, guess what? You're working for the next 6 months for that. And
that could be okay. And that could be, you're happy to do that.
Yeah, we had one in recently, and I've got one of the advisors away on maternity leave, and I met this lovely couple who came in, and first 5 minutes I said, "Oh, mate, sure you don't want to work till Christmas?" Because we'd worked out she wasn't going to give up till then. He's told me he hates sitting at home bored. I'm like, well, that's me. You're going to drive everyone nuts for the first 6 months here, mate. And then there was a car and things they could have bought. Now you can do that. And he left as my mate, not my... Because he went, so now I'm going to get retired. I've got enough income. I've got the car. I've got everything ticked off, and I've got a date to work end of the year, because it was all coming really quick, happening by 30 June. And it was just, you could just see it was all a bit much. Yeah. And you could just see the weight of, now he'd made his own date.
Yeah.
30 June's just a day. It comes each year. To the business clients, it comes every year, same time. Put your super in, just saying. When they go, I forgot to put my super in. Comes around every year, that 30 June. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. But it's people putting their own date and timeline.
Yes.
Tomorrow's going to happen. Chances are the day after is too. You're putting a date and a context, and the pressure is it's all internal. It actually doesn't really exist, but you just see people get really wound up and fixated on that.
I'd written, when you'd asked me this question, I thought, actually, it's interesting. What would I say to people? I think there's a couple of pieces. Certainly, decluttering was something. You got 2 or 3 years out. It's like, look, I had an old boat I needed to get rid of. Yes. There's a few things just to get off your plate. Was the first thing for me. Another one was actually retiring to something.
Yes.
So, okay, what happens at the morning after you retire? What will you actually have a plan?
Yes.
So, righty, I'm going to be doing this. I really wanted to do this. I've had friends who said they want to go and learn the guitar. Don't know if they ever do, but it's a nice thing to do. But whether it's just having, okay, we're retired for 3 weeks, and then on that date we're then going to do this trip. We had another advisor in the business who made the decision they were retiring and then getting in a caravan and heading around Australia. Yes. So they immediately left that way. The same with one of the other female staff, and her and her husband, when they retired, they knew what they were doing. They were moving up north and getting the home they wanted. I think it was up Tannum Sands or something else.
Which is funny, because the one who is back working for us part time, and the others are coming back to civilization after being up north. So there you go.
I didn't realise that.
Okay. All part of the journey.
Okay. I did worry about them getting isolated, but anyway.
And that's a good point to that, and that's why I did tongue in cheek, but it is because people, they've got an idea of what they think retirement will be until they get in there. And it's a bit like that saying, everyone's prepared till they get punched in the face. It's the same sort of thing. Yes. We're going to go here and it's great. And exactly to your point, you and I sitting there going, you're isolated, you're social people, now you're not surrounded, people need more medical, all those sorts of things, and you've just moved away from all that. It's like, Have you thought that through? And it's early retirement. Oh, yeah, we'll be fine. 5 years in. Oh, yeah, it does change.
And for a lot of them, it's also moving back closer to grandkids and other bits and pieces that turns up. The other one, though, I really do think is important. They're all important, but that focusing on your own health.
Yes.
And I think this, I sort of was forced into it because I had a bit of a back issue, and then we started getting more serious about gyms and stuff like that again. I'd done that in my, up till I was about 35, 40. Kids hit your life and you sort of change your plan. But remembering that's, I'm lucky. I've never had, touch wood, no complications. But there's a lot of people around me at my age, not only 62, who are already having issues. So whether it's surprise prostate cancer or Parkinson's or all these sort of things, come out of the blue. You don't know what's going on. No. So it's not necessarily, you got to rush out because this might happen to you. But it is remembering to do things while you're fit and healthy. Even stock standard, a normal travel. If you go around Europe and you're visiting little villages and stuff like that, the places you're staying in aren't going to have an elevator.
No.
So you're going to be dragging bags up 2 to 3 flights of stairs, pulling them in our cars every day, all those sort of things.
Yes.
Physically, it's still something you want to be able to do. You want to be able to walk, 10K a day and not be worried about it. Making sure you take advantage of those more active holidays while you're able to.
Yep.
Some of that can be done before you retire.
That's right, getting yourself ready in that.
So you only do double black diamonds now, Paul? Is that you backed it off a little?
That's right. Well, after Fernie this year, I'm pretty scared of double black diamonds.
Because it's interesting, guys. Like you're fit, and you always have been, and you do take care of your health and so forth. What about that emotional sort of state, as far as you've been running really hard all through your career. Yeah. You've achieved a lot through your career, and there's that sense of worth. So the purpose and who Paul is, and there was a strong identity with what you've done business wise. How did you feel about letting that go, or part of that letting that go? Because I know some people, they do struggle when all of a sudden they're not in that particular role. Look, to be honest, I think all of us do. I mean, there's definitely ego, and you'd like to think you're indispensable, but we know we're not. But I sort of look at it. Fortunately, there's so much compliance and overrun in our industry. I look every time. Every time. So you seem happy.
every time I read another communication from the FAAA or something, I sort of go, I'm glad I don't have to deal with this anymore. But there's lots of really good parts of being a business owner and watching a business grow and being part of that. So there's no doubt about that. I mean, one of the ones, and I read this actually after I retired, is when you're in the role you're now in, and both you and Troy, you've got lots of balls in the air. Okay, so your brain's working continually. That suddenly stops, and actually you've got to find things to actually press a few buttons in your head to make sure you are still challenging yourself. So learn some new things or try some new things. My wife would like to think I'm going to try cooking, but really it's me and the barbecue. That's about it.
That's cooking? Yeah, seriously.
Getting back into things you used to do. Using your hands again. I used to play with cars, so I got in and fixed up some bits and pieces on the old Pajero because they're easy to work on.
Yes.
It's at the moment I'm basically preparing the car for a trip to out west next year. Yes. So adding annexes, looking at roof racks, working out what sort of bull bars. There's lots of things you can get your head into, but it's nowhere near as the day-to-day life you're in when you're working in a business. Your brain's moving between lots of topics, and you're bouncing around problem solving and this sort of stuff. You definitely miss that, and I don't know you can replicate that in retirement.
Yes,
but you do need to try and work on something which keeps your brain active.
And Troy, with your clients and other clients that you've got, like, how do you find, is that an issue for them, or getting themselves mentally prepared to do that sort of?
Yeah, you can see the ones that switch off, and some will come in for a review and they have all of these detailed notes and analytics, and others go, no, I just looked at the balance before I came in, I'm all good. So there's either way is fine. Some clients, they'll look at their portfolio every 5 minutes when they first retire and then get to a point they don't. It's just finding what works for you. And one laugh there, and he's like, and he looked all the time because he just had his date and his dollar, and he got there and we went past it, and then he retired, and he laughed and, "Oh, you can see how much I look." And went, "Yeah, it was 325 times last month." And his wife went, "You told me you never look and you've settled into retirement perfectly." And I went, "Oh, it's probably actually more. I was being kind."
Yes.
But it's finding it routine because she had already retired.
Yes.
To Paul's point.
Yeah.
And he's, it's great. It's like, we're blokes. We say that, but is it really?
Yeah.
Or are we the duck's pedaling really heavy underneath,
Yes.
but up to, I'm calm and I'm really happy with this. But but it takes them a while. And that same person, I tell him, you don't have to earn as much. Semi-retired, less. Now it's like, you could do a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because you can just see that I don't want you to drop in a heap because you've filled your time. And as you said, you're busy and you've got that.
Absolutely.
The conversations with them when they come in for review, there's work or a bit of golf and there's a gap. He hasn't found what to fill that gap yet, and filling it with something's better than nothing because you see people go through depression and all those things, and that would have been our parents' generation that you watch them retire and they're sitting there watching a midday movie. I remember going through uni and watching Dad going, "Why are we sitting watching a midday movie? You don't sit still. Like you play cars." And it took him a really long period because he didn't want to be an electrician.
Yes.
And then he ended up going to restore cars, and he nearly had another 10 years of that because he went, "Oh, that's my passion. I love doing that."
Yes.
But there was a period in the middle that Aussie blokes don't talk about. That was, that probably went on for a while, and you see these bloke sheds and car clubs. And all of that. There's lots of things. You're just going to be prepared to try something. Like pickleball, every person's playing pickleball now. Like they're out and active.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what it is. You've got to find something to...
And it's thinking about it early before. So you're mentally preparing yourself, you're getting yourself...
And being open to it too. I think exactly the pickleball thing, because there's a...
You're not taking up pickleball, are you?
No, not yet.
You are a golfer.
But we do have two. We've got friends up the sunny coast who have become mad about it.
Yeah, we've got friends that love it. It's fantastic. I've never played, but it's certainly popular.
Yeah. So I look at it and go, well, so so if someone puts something forward to you, there's a great line, actually, I'm just remembering who it was. It was Morgan Freeman, I think. He said, and he said something about not letting the old man in. And I think it's a really good line because it's actually quite easy to say to yourself, I probably shouldn't do that, you're this age now, and maybe you should be a little smarter. But, being too smart might mean you might actually not give something a go. And, your kids will push you a little bit, your friends will push you a little bit. Give it a go. There's you can only, as I say, you can only mess it up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to ding the little bell because we've been talking so long of part one. Yeah. Those that want to hear the journey in part two, are going to have to tune in for the next episode.
They will. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Paul.
No worries. Thanks, gents.
Thank you. Cheers.